So Trump was being investigated for the Russian collusion with Exxon, Rex Tillerson in the Russian Arctic, with their oil pipeline ambitions to feed Western Europe with Ukrainian pipelines, and also to feed India with Arctic Exxon Energies utilizing the Tajikistan pipeline that would have flooded India and then diverted also to China. So Trump, for the love of oil, laid down with Abdul from the Taliban. And he's always been in OPEC's pocket. So the Crown Prince gave Jared $2 billion for Jared to launder incremental payments through Ivanka shareholders in the Trump organization. The Egyptian president laundered campaign funds, $10 million into Trump real estate, and Trump used it pretending to be his money, and he lent it to his Save America PAC as a form of a loan in order to launder it back. They had to pay it back to him, and he pocketed the $10 million. Now he's inventing crypto, world liberty. Now every foreign nation actors can use the dark web with bots, cryptos, through their shadow bankings to prop up Trump's shareholding stocks with his cryptocurrencies. Trump make the CEO of Bitcoin look like a acquired child, like a newborn infant when it comes to laundering money into his crypto stocks. So at the end of the day, I wonder if he wins office, how Russia or any other interests of foreign governments using bots in the dark web through shadow banking as foreign nation actors to prop up his stock shares, and then behind closed doors, Trump returns the favor with quid pro quos. If he was willing, if he was willing to lay down with Al Qaeda, or may I say Abdul and Al Sakharahiri, for the love of Tajikistan pipeline of Exxon flooding energy into Tajikistan pipeline that would have flooded India and China with lucrative Exxon exports of the Russian Arctic energies. Trump, you should know by now, is a snake oil remedist. He's a venomous snake of a grift. So now he set up a Ponzi scheme of digital currencies that now the foreign nation actors, they can buy his leverage with quid pro quos. Behind closed doors, they know what they did for each other, like the Egyptian president with the $10 million, or the House of Prince with a portfolio for Jared for $2 billion to launder incremental payments into Trump's real estate. Because Trump set up OPEC deals with Exxon, and Trump sold the Crown Prince military Pentagon weapons. So that's why they made a $2 billion portfolios to pay Trump for his services. Trump is like a 4-year commercial. Anybody can sponsor him as chief and commander. Remember in 2015, Trump says, I have no deals pending in Russia. When he came down those stupid pendejo escalators of his that he swears golden. Fool's gold, if you ask me. But Trump came in 2015 when he was on the campaign trail saying that he had no business with Russia, no business in Russia, no business pending in Russia, which was a lie because he was trying to build a Trump Moscow tower and to get Putin to launder money into his real estate through Deutsche Bank. And the CEOs admitted that Trump was trying to get money through Deutsche Bank. And it was because Rex Tillerson was trying to get back into the Russian Arctic in 2015. And Trump was going to raise sanctions off of Russia in order to get Rex Tillerson and the board members of Exxon back into the Russian Arctic. And for Trump to say that there was no Russian collusion when he vetted out the Robert Mueller report is asinine. And so Trump, during his term in office, towards the end, like a month or two before his administration ended in 2020, he sent Pompeo, State Secretary, to free Abdul and 5,000 of the Taliban lieutenants to give them rule over Afghanistan, and he threw the coalition American Afghan government underneath the bus for the love of Exxon pipelines that would have flooded Arctic Exxon transmittance energy through the pipeline that would have ran through the Tajikistan pipeline that had to go through Afghanistan and eventually enter India and China. So it was too lucrative for this snake oil venomous snake of Trump to pass up the deal. So he had a bright idea to free Abdul from prison and 5,000 of his lieutenant prisoners of the Taliban soldiers, and he decided to roll out the red carpet with the State Department Secretary Pompeo, and for the love of money, he gave Abdul the keys of Afghan and undermined 20 years of the Pentagon dead soldiers like losers. What's in it for them? But what was in it for Trump is lucrative deals. As a snake oil venomous snake con artist that he is, Rockefeller fodder grifter of a con artist, reincarnated into the chief and commander that y'all call J. Donald Trump. Full of trumpery he is. Full of trumpery. So at the end of the day, what Abdul did, he ransacked soon as Trump released him out of jail and made him the sovereign leader of Afghanistan. What Abdul did, he ransacked the whole of Afghan government under the Trump watch. While Trump was still in office, Abdul started ransacking all the provinces of Afghanistan, taking it all over. By the time Biden got into office, Asa Karahiri was right next to Abdul. But for the love of oil, the eternal fountains of 9/11, Trump's pisses on the victims for the love of oil, as a snake oil con artist grifter that he is. So if I was the CIA, the NSA, I will find out how this crypto company, if Trump makes it into the Oval Office for a second time, I will find out how these sovereign countries will use bot cryptocurrencies in the dark web and in shadow banking to prop up Trump's stock shares and what he calls his world liberty liquidity investments, or slush funds, or quid pro quos. So what I'm telling y'all, to recap, is a microcosm of Trump racketeering, business racketeering. For the love of oil, he's worse than Rockefeller's father. He's a con artist. He's a business racketeer. That's all he is. That's all he will ever be, is a business racketeer. And he uses the White House to enrich himself. He did it with the Egyptian president. He did it with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. He did it with Putin. He did it with Exxon. He laid down in bed for the love of oil with the Taliban for the Tajikistan pipeline that would allow Exxon to flood Russian Arctic energy, with Exxon controlling the oil rigs in the Russian Arctic and flooding the transmission fees of oil transmitted to that Tajikistan pipeline that had to go through Afghanistan in order to make it into India. That's why Moody invited Trump when he was president to visit India, and they rolled out the red carpet and made him feel special by having a stadium full of Indians cheer on Trump. It was because Trump was promising Moody that pipeline, and the only way Trump could figure out his last days in office on how to make it possible was to free the Taliban from prison, Abdul, the leader of the Taliban, and give him rule of Afghanistan. But Pompeo made Abdul promise that he won't terrorize that lucrative Exxon transmission Arctic Russian energy pipeline, that Abdul wouldn't terrorize it. So what Abdul did, soon as Pompeo gave him the sovereign red carpet treatment, Abdul started ransacking the whole Afghanistan and chasing out the Pentagon. And by the time Trump left office, Abdul was giving refuge to Asa Karahiri, the leader of Al-Qaeda. And by Trump and his rallies, he said, Abdul, I gave Abdul a white flag, and I told him I know where he lives at. Why did you give him why did you lay down in bed with him to begin with, if it wasn't for snake oil remedies? But this is your commander-in-chief. At the end of the day, he vetted out the Robert Mueller report. He fired Comey. He fired Brenner, Clapper. He imposed Bill Barr to vet out the Robert Mueller report, to lie to the American people, say that there was never no Russian collusion, when in actuality, him and his state secretary, Rex Tillerson, was greasing up their palms in the Russian Arctic. In 2015, Trump said, I have no business pending in Russia. And in reality, he was trying to get Deutsche Bank to flood Russian money into his real estate so he can build a Trump Moscow Tower. But when they called him, when they outed the story, he denied it. and he pulled back from building a Trump Moscow Tower. But he was on stage before they outed him. He was on stage lying to the American people straight to their faces. While he said the media is the enemy of the people in this fake news, he was lying to the media cameras. I have no pending deals in Russia. I never did have any deals pending in Russia. And in reality, he was trying to, because he was getting Exxon, Rex Tillerson back in the Russian Arctic with the Exxon board members. So he wanted Putin to launder money into a Trump Tower deal, development deal that he wanted to build a Trump Tower in the middle of Moscow. But when they outed him, when the story was leaked, he reneged and he said that's a lie, that's false. He never had any business deals pending. So Trump he's always been a grifter. But the biggest grift is this World Liberty Financial Company of him. Now foreign actor nations will use bot currency crypto investments through shadow banking, through the deep web to prop up his stock shares on Wall Street. And Trump will know exactly where the money came from. When he's in back of the Oval Office with leaders of state giving quid pro quos like it's some type of auction to the highest bidders. Tragically, this is the conservative values of the Republicans. The good old boys, the backroom dealing boys. They always been for big businesses, right? The GOP. You know what GOP stands for? Good old boys. Because they pride themselves on backroom dealings as always being the party for big business. Now you understand what Trumpery is all about. When Trump got charged with $500 million of fine in New York for tax evasion, real estate fraud, bank fraud, and they charged him $500 million. Trump went to Mar-a-Lago. He summons all the CEOs of the oil companies and insisted that they all pay him together, combined $1 billion. For he can use that in the Save America PAC to pay for his bond, or the $500 billion, because no bond insurance company wanted to insure him. So he got so desperate with his racketeering, he went to Mar-a-Lago and summons all the CEO companies to Mar-a-Lago to insist that they give him $1 billion for he can pay for his penalties in New York, his $500 billion. And I guess they bribed a judge to lower it from $500 billion to like $100 million. But then he also wanted that money to pay for his Eugene Carroll bond, because he didn't have no money to pay for that neither. But this is his Save America PAC, you know? It's to save his own ass using campaign funds. But this is a mockery of how America works. This is a microcosm, you know, of how America works and how America functions from the inside out. So you can imagine why Trump, when he left the White House in his first term, he got so scared, he rented a writer's truck and packed boxes and boxes of highly compartmentalized skiffs that incriminated his actions in the Oval Office. He got so scared that he rented a writer truck, and then he packed his bathroom in Mar-a-Lago with him, and the stage is full of skiffs. And since the FBI and the CIA, they worry about this petrodollar status, they don't want this to come out to light, the embarrassment of Trump. And they don't want all these archives of his mischievous behaviors to be leaked out, because the government will get too embarrassed if Trump compromises it with his racketeering and it leaks out in the media. So the Justice Department, they raided his Mar-a-Lago twice to bring up the skiffs and put them back into the archives. There are skiffs of intel reports that are not made public to the American people, because America bipartisanly doesn't want to jeopardize their petrol status, or let alone have a run on the Wall Street markets that would jeopardize their ability to repay their federal debt of $35 trillion of federal deficits. So the only way that politicians know how to do that is to prop up the petrodollar. And so for that, they are embarrassed of Trump's illegalities. Bipartisanly, behind closed doors, Democratic parties, along with the Republicans, they know exactly what Trump is, a snake oil remedist. But they're too embarrassed to admit it. And so behind the scenes, But the FCC, they gagged the left-wing news to not report the truth about Trump and the oil interests. It's too embarrassing. So, you know why I say to that? I say the F word. If y'all don't mind me, fuck y'all bipartisan hypocrite politicians in Congress and in the Senate behind closed doors. And fuck y'all skiffs. Because at the end of the day, y'all all complicit with this, what you call oil Ponzi scheme of yourselves. And Trump is just a microcosm of it. Good luck to your petrodollars. Dictator from day one. Take the oil.